So that's the bank. D, let's talk about some of these guys who are going to be taking a visit.
Yeah, it's an interesting weekend. So there's a few guys that I'll just roll through quick because we've talked about them a bunch. And then there's a few guys that we really haven't talked about. Figured to watch the film, kind of react, get the Peter instant reaction as well to these guys. But, just names that we know. Ben Cogden commitment from Mineral City, Ohio, which I don't really know exactly where that is, but it's not exactly in the huge metropolitan area. But this is a guy who had Big Ten interest. Penn State was after him hard. He was a top wrestler in Ohio. I think he finished sixth in his first year wrestling heavyweight. And this is a guy that is tall. He's 6'7". So you don't usually have guys 6'7", 6'8" that wrestle with that kind of leverage and flexibility and fluidity. So, I'm a big fan of this guy. I mean, we've gotten so many good linemen, Cantwell, Joel Irvin. I think our first guy that we loved was this guy. We did a whole show on this guy. Yeah, this is our guy that we love. So shout out to Ben Congdon. He did a solid commitment even after Big Ten schools like Penn State came after him. I think Alabama offered him as well. And he stayed true. So underrated guy. He's a 4-star now. I believe he's a composite 4-star. I know he's a 4-star. Yeah, he's 4-star on both sites at 90, number 27 offensive tackle in the country. So he is that. He's a blue chip player. Miami's lucky to have him. We talked about Jason Lopez in the bank. To me, a star player in my book. For me, this is a guy that we got to get. Javian Mallory, also talked about that one, and in the bank. That visit Alabama, I don't think was well received, and we'll see where this thing goes. But he's going to be on campus. He's a very good player. It's him and Jay Lamar kind of battling for that second running back spot. Derek Cooper's got a reservation right there at the top. Van Spafford, we talked about his situation, the wide receiver out of Mission Viejo, California, Orange County, speedy slot receiver. Reminds me of Tank Dell a little bit, who was very successful in Shannon Dawson's offense. Canceled his visit. Miami's trying to get him back on the schedule. We'll see. A lot of people thought he was going to flip to Miami this week, including people from other schools. So Miami needs to get him back on campus. We'll see if they can get that one done. Shari Charles, this is the last one of the kind of the older names, someone that we've talked about a bunch. 6'2", 230 defensive end from Venice, 4-star player, number 15 in the country. Explosive guy, great leverage, gets under guys. Visited at least once. I think he might have visited twice in spring. So he's coming back now for an official visit. Venice, not very far on the west coast of Florida. This is a player that Miami's been recruiting very, very hard, has been crystal ball to Miami, brings a lot to the table. Just a pure rusher that I love this, him playing running back. Venice is a big program that produces, power 4 players every year. So him playing running back, that means they really trust him as an athlete. I like his leverage. I like his pop. Pete, I don't know what you think when you watch these clips, but I think this is a guy like a Malik Bryant that it's just going to be a good football player for you and help you win games.
Yeah, I think a bit different than a Malik Bryant just because he's already playing that pass rush position. And I think maybe at this point a bit twitchier than Malik Bryant. And look, I think that pass rush edge speed rush sort of spot here is going to be a very, look at that. I mean, it pops off tape. It's going to be a very important part of Coach Heatherman's defense here.
Yeah, I just love that speed to power this guy has. Yeah. He gets low. He's not the biggest guy, not the longest guy, but he's someone that can get under guys and push him back. It's boom, look at that. Sending the fullback to another dimension. So physicality, motor, a good program pedigree, twitch, highly rated player. This is a guy that Miami's been recruiting for a while for a reason. So we'll see how that one goes. We already talked about Jaquez Wilkes not being able to visit because of a family health emergency. I wouldn't read too much into that. This is a guy Miami is going to keep recruiting hard. But Pete, yeah, some new names here that I wanted to dive into. I don't know which one catches your attention first. There's at least 4 guys here that we really haven't spent a ton of time talking about that I wanted to dive in on.
Start with Nolan Wilson.
Yeah, Nolan Wilson visited this spring. So he's not been talked about a ton. From Picayune, Mississippi. Obviously, that's not exactly prime Miami country. Ole Miss, Auburn, Alabama, those are schools he's visited, kind of your standard SEC profile. But when you visit unofficially, you're in the game, right? That means the guy took his time, to come all the way down here in the spring and had a good visit. Obviously, he's returning on an unofficial, but you watch the film, you can see why he has a lot of interest. He's long, he's explosive. He can get after it. 6'4", 250. That's the frame you want. I heard he did look good on his visit, like just the walking around, he looked the part. And think about Jason Taylor. He's kind of similar size-wise to a Nolan Wilson, so you know what the pitch is going to be. A lot of ends in the picture, man. We talked about Wilkes coming eventually, Charles coming this weekend, but this is just another name to add to the mix. And I think really the first step twitch and there's some tightness there. He doesn't finish as well as you'd like as far as like slowing down, changing directions. Oh, he did it right there. Boom. As I say that, you'd like to see a little more at finish there, but in terms of being a tall guy with twitch, I think this guy's pretty impressive.
Yep, agreed. There was a name here that a couple names here that we haven't been, I don't think, very familiar with. Starting with JJ Finch.
Yeah, this is a name that from a big school in Indianapolis, Indiana, Warren Central. Not the highest rated guy, high 3-star player, but you look at the visit list: Tennessee, Michigan, Alabama, Purdue, the local schools in there as well. So this is a guy that people like. I think he's just like a evaluation kind of guy. Defensive tackle, which is a position you're always scouring the world for because there's only so many guys with the body type. And I think you watch him and you see what the appeal is. He's going to put on weight. He's already got a nice, strong lower body. He has got good range to him. I can see this guy easily bulking up. Kind of reminds you of like a Simeon Barrow just looking at him. I think he's a little taller than Barrow. He's 6'3", 260.
It's the number 11.
There it is, man. Maybe that's Barrow's number 10. But yeah, it's like you're close enough. But look at the athleticism here. Look at that interception, man. The big boy can move. You like the power. It's Indiana, but this is not like small school Indiana. This is a big school, big program that sends guys to the next level. He's always the first off the ball. See what I like about that: navigating traffic, lateral quickness, ball awareness. And then when he sees the ball carrier, he bends his knees and strikes. And a lot of these defensive tackles just kind of drag the ball carrier down. He can bend his knees and deliver a strike, which shows you his athleticism, his flexibility. This is good tape to me, man. I like the way he's moving. The only negative is he's not 300 right now, but I think a year in, when he fills up that upper body a little bit, you could see him being that kind of guy. He plays with power. You see him knock the ball loose right there. I don't know, Pete. I want to get your thoughts because to me, this is not something I spent a ton of time on. But when you watch the tape as a high 3-star, you could see why Tennessee, Michigan, Alabama are in on this one.
Yeah, gotta see how he would fit in the scheme for Coach Heatherman. Kind of see whose role he would play, so to speak. But obviously, someone who's a very productive player and is consistently in the backfield. But it's interesting, man, because we aren't seeing those big 300+ pound bodies consistently.
Yeah, we did the show with Lance Roffers yesterday, right, Pete? So they could check that out with Lance Roffers, really breaking down Heatherman's defense and what he looks for in these defensive tackles and really every position. And he talked about the nose. Forget the 3 technique or this. I guess we'll call him. It's not to play a 3 technique. Let's call him the smaller defensive end in this scheme. The nose guard is trying to get upfield, get across the center's face, hop the gap, and just really make plays in the backfield, which is different than your typical two gapping plug who's just trying to be wide and strong and clog up that middle. This nose tackle is there to wreak havoc, to cause problems, and I think you can see a JJ Finch fitting either there or in that other smaller position, whether it's the big defensive end, that field defensive end, or the defensive tackle that mirrors that field defensive end at times.
And then the next guy that I wanted to talk about is Duyan Forkpa, DQ. Yeah,
and again, here's the interesting thing. Michigan pops up again. Just visited Michigan last week. So you're seeing Miami's, I don't know if they're following Michigan's evals, but you do see Michigan's evals pop up here, which, I don't think it's a bad idea. Michigan's a pretty good program. But I asked about this guy because I just hadn't heard the name. I'm like, is this a real name or is this just a name that you're adding to the list? And then no, this was a real name, and you see why. You watch his film, he can get off blocks. He's twitchy. North Carolina's in the mix, Michigan, Florida State, Florida, and he has speed. He's ran in the 11s in the 100 meters. You see the sideline to sideline speed here. Now at IMG, so he's getting coaching, off-ball linebacker all the way. So, he has that ability. But
looks like he's got some thickness to him.
Oh, yeah. I don't think there's going to be someone who's going to need too much time to develop. He's originally from Georgia, by the way, Mill Creek. Visited Colorado as well, Florida State. So he's not a Florida guy. Even though he's at IMG, he's a Georgia guy, but Southern guys, he can get off blocks there. This is a real target. They'll size him up. Malik Morris from Lakeland came on a visit, and I think they're around him, and they said, I don't know if this guy's going to be able to play here. It wasn't a situation where we moved forward with Malik Morris after his visit. J.J. Edwards, the opposite. He visited and we wanted him even more, and it looks like he's going to probably be in this class. We'll see where a fork pug goes here, but I like the film. I see the vision. There's some tightness, but he's a real linebacker. He finds the ball. He gets off blocks. He plays hard. I don't know, Pete, what do you see with him?
Yeah, I mean, he's moving. He's a big boy. I wonder if they are still trying to figure out, what they're really looking for a linebacker.
Yeah, it's a position that, it's not been great for the Canes since Shaq, and before Shaq, it wasn't great for the Canes for a while. So we'll see if they can get it right. I really like J.J. Edwards. I think that's the type of guy we need to get from a trait standpoint. This guy, I need really to study more, but I know he's being coached up at IMG. I think Gavin Nix last year was a big loss from IMG, went to Oregon. That's one that's going to sting the Canes for a while. But we'll see if Forkbuck can get it done there. And I do like that, Edwards, the concern is you're putting weight on him. And one thing I've noticed, and Lance Roppers, we just talked about, did a study on this where you looked at linebackers that made it and what they looked like in high school in their testing. And he found that linebackers are actually heavier than you'd think in high school, the ones that make it to the NFL, right? Everybody says, oh, you just get these safeties, you put weight on them and get them ready to go. But a lot of times the guys that make it at the next level, they're 220 plus in high school. Maybe they're a running back and they move or whatever it is. But a lot of these guys actually do have some size to them. So Edwards, you hope he gets that size. He has the speed, but it's nice to see a guy like Forkba where you don't have to worry about him adding the weight. He's got 225 pounds ready to work.
And then the last guy here, Devontae Anderson.
Yeah, intriguing local guy. This is, again, a newer name for me, but you recognize, boom, right there, what he brings to the table. These are Florida guys. This feels like the kind of guy that goes to like in Illinois. I know Illinois is not on his list. You see Maryland, Auburn, Rutgers, UCF, but Winter Garden, Florida, right there in Central Florida, good team, playoff team. This is the kind of guy that goes to like a Minnesota or Illinois, which, those schools aren't recruiting him. So maybe that's something to keep an eye on, but we've just seen so many of these guys succeed. And I like his speed. I like his physicality. I like his length. I don't think, I think Miami really is locked in at safety on the Blake Stewarts of the world. What's the kid, Pete, or the other kid from Orlando, of a private school, Devin Jackson.
Jackson.
Guys like that. But this is someone who can play some corner, has some versatility. You see him there. He is listed, I believe, as a safety on 247. Actually, I think it's listed as a corner. To me, he looks more like a safety, but I guess you could put him at corner. He's got length. So just a defensive back that I think they want to size up. You had Kosi Barnes, who's a similar body type, similar background, playing wide receiver and corner, that you saw him come on campus last week from Charlotte area, from Greensboro area. So this is another guy. I think they like the traits. They like the fact that he plays corner, plays wide receiver. In my view, again, I think safety makes some sense here. So they'll size him up and see what they got here, but can never have enough defensive backs. And you don't want to put all of your eggs in the Blake Stewart, Devin Jackson basket, although I think Miami would love to have those two at safety and then Brody Jennings as a corner to add to what they got already.
Yeah, D, when you and I go to these, 7-on-7 or Under Armour camps or whatever it may be, defensive back's always a position where we watch it and you're kind of just like, okay, this guy's got some length. He can run a little bit. Offer that kid. He, and develop him. At receiver, you can kind of say, all right, well, he's really not polished. It's going to take some seasoning for him. But at defensive back, which is I think what you're seeing with a lot of these offers, get them in the building. If they've got some of these traits that we're talking about, coach them up and see if someone surprises you. OJ Frederic, as a 3-star, was someone who had a lot of these traits that they were looking for, and he's obviously shown his value early in his career.
You watch OJ Frederic's highlights. He's playing wide receiver, right? Playing defensive back. You think about the safeties Miami's after. You just looked at Devontae Anderson playing corner, playing receiver, projects as a safety probably for Miami. Blake Stewart playing all over the field for his team up there in Atlanta. You look at Devin Jackson playing some wide receiver for his team in Orlando, Florida, also playing safety. So you want that versatility on top of the length and the size and the willingness to hit people, the instincts, all the things you look for at safety. I think versatility, not only to help your ball skills, be able to go up and get the football and move around, but I think just in general, guys with instincts, which is the primary issue at safety, you got to have instincts. They usually are able to make an impact on offense as well, because those instincts allow them to find the football, get open, and make plays on the offensive side of the ball. Ed Reed, Sean Taylor, Cam Kitchens wasn't, but he was definitely a return threat. So you want some safeties that can do things with the ball in their hands. And I think Devontae Anderson has some of that. They just want to size him up and see how he looks. And it could be a situation where after the visit, hey, we love Devontae Anderson, he's top of our board, or you just kind of quietly move on and say, hey, we saw him. We'll stick with the Blake Stewarts and the Devin Jacksons of the world. You don't really know until these guys get on campus and you get a good look at them.